Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we are going to explore what is hands down the most advanced, complex, and just utterly fascinating piece of biological technology on Earth. And you know the absolute best part? You're already intimately familiar with it because you literally live inside it, right? I'm talking about the human body. We're going to dive right in because honestly, the sheer engineering of the human machine is absolutely mind blowing when you actually look at the numbers. Just look at this staggering scale of your own body's engineering. Like, you're not just one single organism. You are basically a walking, talking, breathing metropolis made up of roughly 30 trillion individual cells. 30 trillion, all working together in perfect harmony. And if that doesn't blow your mind, consider your internal plumbing. If you took all of your blood vessels, we're talking every artery, vein, and tiny little capillary, and laid them out end to end, they would stretch far enough to wrap around the entire Earth, not just once, but twice. It's just an unbelievable thought. So here's our schematic for today's explainer. 1. The ultimate control center. 2. The engine and plumbing. 3. The indestructible framework. 4. Fuel processing and shielding. And finally, 5. The microscopic blueprints. All right, starting with section 1. The ultimate control center, the brain and senses. Now, your brain is the ultimate, highly efficient command center. It makes up a tiny fraction of your weight, but it's incredibly power-hungry, using a full 1/5 of your body's entire energy supply. But here's a crazy paradox. It processes every single physical sensation you have, but the brain itself actually feels zero pain. None. Oh, and it is a total workaholic. It stays highly active even when you're sleeping, filing away massive amounts of information to keep the machine running. And get this incredible supercomputer is actually mostly made of water. Now let's talk about how this control center is wired. Because it's a bit quirky, your brain operates on this really fascinating cross-wired control system. The left hemisphere of your brain is strictly in charge of the right side of your body. And yep, you guessed it, the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body. It's just this wild evolutionary quirk. Basically, every time you wave your right hand, that command is actually firing from the left side of your skull. Speaking of those commands firing, I want you to keep this massive number in your head for a second. 270. Think about how insanely fast you react when you accidentally touch a hot stove. Well, that 270 is the blistering speed at which your nerve signals travel. 270 miles per hour. I mean, that is faster than most Formula One race cars, and it's what ensures your brain and body communicate almost instantaneously. And the body has some other high-speed functions too. Like when you sneeze, that air travels out of you at a highly impressive 100 miles per hour. Even a regular cough leaves your body at 60 miles per hour. We are literally high-velocity machines. And this fast-paced control center relies on some incredibly advanced sensory inputs. Let's rapid-fire through some of these specs. Your nose is essentially a high-capacity hard drive that remembers 50,000 different smells. Your eyes? Ultra-high-definition cameras that can distinguish millions of colors. And get this, they stay the exact same size from birth. To keep those lenses clean, you blink about 20,000 times a day. And inside your mouth, your taste buds are constantly regenerating, totally replacing themselves every 2 weeks. Plus, just a fun bonus fact, your tongue actually has a unique print, exactly like your fingertips. Nobody else in the world has your tongue print. Okay, moving to section 2, the engine and plumbing, also known as the cardiovascular system. So if the brain is the control center, the heart is the relentless engine, driving the entire machine, pumping the essential fluids that keep the whole shebang alive. And here is another massive figure to set up our next scale comparison for you, 100,000. Think about the crazy amount of work your engine has to do every single day without ever hitting the pause button. Your heart beats roughly 100,000 times in a single day. And in doing so, it pumps an astounding 2,000 gallons of blood through that massive network of vessels we talked about earlier. What's absolutely wild is that this relentless pump is only about the size of your fist. Yet it's so incredibly strong that a healthy human heart can actually squirt blood up to 30 feet. No way, right? And that classic thump-thump sound of a heartbeat? That's actually just the sound of the heart's valves snapping shut as they forcefully push all that fluid along. To really understand the payload that engine is pushing, consider that blood makes up about 8% of your total body weight. It moves so efficiently that a single drop of blood takes just 1 minute to travel through your entire body and return back to the heart. Oh, and let's clear up a super common myth right now. Blood is always red inside of you. It's never blue. The iron inside your blood is what gives it that red color, whether it's carrying oxygen or not. Moving right along to section 3, we arrive at the indestructible framework, your bones and muscles. This is the heavy-duty chassis of the human machine. And honestly, the most incredible thing about this framework is that it isn't static. Bones are actually made of living cells. In fact, your skeleton completely replaces itself every 10 years. You literally get a brand new skeleton once a decade. What's really fascinating is how our framework adapts as we grow up. Babies are actually born with around 300 bones. But as we age into adults, we end up with only 206. So where do they go? Well, they fuse together to create larger, stronger structures. And when I say strong, I really mean it. Human bone is actually stronger than steel of the very same width. Though interestingly enough, the enamel on your teeth is even harder than bone. But weirdly, teeth aren't actually counted as part of those 206 bones. Let's look at the extremes of this skeletal system for a second. The very smallest bone in your body is a tiny little stirrup-shaped bone hidden deep inside your ear. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the largest and strongest bone is your femur, your thigh bone. But here is the absolute craziest part of our bone distribution. Exactly half of all your 206 bones are packed tightly into just your hands and feet. That's what gives us the incredible dexterity we rely on every single day. Now, of course, bones can't move without muscles. Muscles make up a full half of your entire body weight. Your gluteus maximus, your backside, is the biggest muscle you have, but it isn't the strongest. The prize for the absolute strongest muscle goes to your jaw. And muscles are highly specialized, too. Take the tongue, for example. It's incredibly flexible, allowing us to speak and eat. Emotionally, our muscles are hard at work as well. It takes 17 muscles to smile, but a whopping 43 muscles to frown. So smiling is literally just more efficient for your body. All right, next up is section 4, fuel, processing, and shielding. Here we're exploring how the body breaks down its fuel and protects all those delicate internals from the outside world. The very first line of defense is actually your largest organ, your skin. Your skin is constantly shielding you and regenerating, literally shedding millions of dead cells every single day. In fact, you get an entirely new outer layer of skin about once a month. Inside that shield, the chemical processing feats are just unbelievable. Your liver? It's an absolute workhorse, performing over 500 different chemical jobs. And it is so resilient that it can actually grow back if a piece of it gets cut away. Meanwhile, your small intestine, where you absorb nutrients, is a staggering 20 feet long, just coiled up tightly inside your abdomen. Your kidneys are filtering your blood 40 times a day. And the acid in your stomach? It's so highly corrosive that it can actually dissolve metal. That's exactly why your stomach constantly has to grow a new lining so it doesn't digest itself. Let's do a quick mental reset with the question. We all experience these things, but do you actually know why we shiver, why we get goosebumps, and why we sweat? Well, these are all automatic defense mechanisms triggered by our control center to regulate our core temperature. So the absolutely crucial point here is temperature management. Shivering is just your muscles rapidly contracting to create friction and heat to warm you up. Goosebumps happen because tiny muscles pull your hairs straight up to trap a layer of warm, insulating air right against your skin. And sweating, of course, cools you down as the water evaporates. Now, here's a totally surprising fact. Sweat itself actually has absolutely no smell. Seriously, it is completely odorless. It only starts to smell bad later when the trillions of tiny microbes and bacteria that naturally live on your skin begin to break it down. And that brings us to our final chapter, Section 5, the microscopic blueprints. Hair, nails, and cells. We are zooming all the way in now, past the organs and bones, right down to the cellular level. This is where DNA holds all your growth blueprints, directly controlling things like hair growth, nail formation, and cell replication. When you break the human machine down to its most fundamental parts, you might be a little surprised by what you find. This entire, massively complex machine is actually 60% water. From your blood plasma to your incredibly dense brain, we are fundamentally fluid organisms. Water is the crucial medium that allows all these 30 trillion cells to copy themselves, transport nutrients, and basically keep the entire machine alive. At the core of those cells is your DNA. It's the literal instruction manual for the human machine. And it's honestly incredible how connected we are to the rest of the natural world. I mean, our DNA blueprint is obviously 100% human, but if you compare it to a chimpanzee, we are a 98% match. Even more mind-blowing, you share 50% of your DNA with a banana. Yes, a banana. At the microscopic level, the building blocks of life are incredibly universal. They're just arranged in vastly different architectural designs. We've covered the miles of blood vessels, the blinding speed of nerve signals, the indestructible skeleton, and the hyper-resilient organs that make up the incredible architecture of the human machine. But there is so much more depth to every single one of these systems. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought and a question. What part of this miraculous machine fascinates you the absolute most? Would you like to focus on one specific body part next? Think about it. Keep learning.